What's up, guys? It's TechnoViking23 coming to you today with a little bit of Destiny 2 commentary, and I'm going to be going over a topic today that I've found to be a little bit annoying as I've sort of returned to Destiny to play through the Warmind expansion to kind of catch myself up on the game, just to see what the state of Destiny 2 is. Of course, we know the Forsaken expansion is coming in September, and I think I've stumbled across an issue that I really hope Bungie finds a way to correct, though given their track record, I'm not sure that they will. And this is the fact that the loot drops in Destiny, just in general, need some kind of a major overhaul. Loot in general seems to just be thrown at you from everywhere, but it doesn't feel very meaningful. It doesn't feel like you really work for any of it or earn any of it. And it all seems to be very generic. It's not like you are getting these really unique or cool or interesting weapons. It's just kind of throwing the same legendaries at you over and over and over again, with the same stat rolls, the same static rolls on everything. And it's kind of made me remember a little bit of the original Destiny, some of the fun that was to be had despite the grind and despite some of the complaints about the original game. And just that some of the loot and the weapons and the gear felt a lot more meaningful when you actually earned it in the original Destiny. For some reason with Destiny 2, they've really gone this super casual direction with the game, where they basically just throw loot at you and make it really easy to get really powerful gear. Essentially, all you really need to do is log in once a week, and you can do all of your weekly milestones and get a whole bunch of exotics and legendary gear without really putting in too much effort. In fact, some of the hardest content in the game, like the raid and the heroic strikes, and even some of the heroic adventures, really don't even give you as good of gear as you can just get from running a bunch of public events for your weekly flashpoint. So they kind of have this whole loot system really skewed right now, and it definitely needs an overhaul with the coming major expansion in September. But like I said, I was just thinking a lot about Destiny, especially towards the end of the game, and some of the moments I had myself in Destiny, despite being a big critic of it. I did have some enjoyable moments from time to time, and I just haven't seen that at all with Destiny 2, with the loot tables, or just with how easy it is to get loot. I still remember when I first started playing Destiny 2, before I took a very, very, very long break from the game. And I remember only playing for maybe a week or so and having 18 exotic items already. Whether it was getting them from Xur, or just getting them from my weekly milestone packages, or just having them drop in general from the gunsmith or whoever I decided to go to turn in engrams, plus all the stuff you could do with your clan. It just seemed way too easy to get exotics. Exotics are supposed to be the most powerful items and weapons in the game, and you're just handing them out like candy, and that just seemed wrong when I first started playing the game. But it's still an issue in Destiny 2. There's a lot more exotics now, so it's not as easy to get duplicates, but it's still one of those things where it just gives you the same items over and over and over again. And I ran into this problem again this week. I hadn't actually ever played the faction rally in Destiny 2. That's how long I've been away from the game. But I've managed to level New Monarchy up from level 1 to 27. And I can't tell you how many of the exact same assault rifle and pulse rifle that I've had drop over and over and over again. Now tonight I finally did start getting some more unique weapons. I got the sword and I think the shotgun and the submachine gun and one of the hand cannons. But prior to that, it was I'd come in every night and maybe get up 3 to 4 levels, and I would get literally 3 pulse rifles in a row, and then maybe a helmet or something. And then I'd get 3 of the same auto rifle in a row, and then maybe a set of boots or something. But it's all the same stuff. Now, if this was back in Destiny when you had random rolls and you could get really good rolls on weapons, it'd be one thing. This is getting the exact same static roll over and over and over again, to the point that most of the weapons you acquire in the game, most of the gear that drops, is going to be infusion fuel for you, or it's just going to be something to dismantle to get gunsmith parts and legendary shards to buy stuff from Xur. So there's just really no meaning behind any of the gear anymore. Going through playing the game, I have a whole bunch of weapons I've been using. I don't really have a favorite weapon, or a weapon that I feel oh wow, I got this in a really cool manner, so this is the weapon I like to use a lot. Conversely, with the original Destiny, I always go back to, I think my first exotic weapon that I got was the invective shotgun, and of course that was from an exotic weapon quest that you had to go through and do a couple of steps on it. It wasn't the hardest thing in the world, but for me at the time, someone who didn't play PvP in Destiny and didn't really enjoy PvP in Destiny, it kind of forced me to go into the Crucible and learn how to play the game mode a little bit better. And eventually I was able to get that part of the quest for the weapon finished, and I got my Invective shotgun. And I used just the crap out of that shotgun because I felt like I had done some work within the game and actually earned that piece of loot. And it had meaning to me. It was very meaningful the way that I had to go and obtain that. Conversely, when I got the Thorn, finally, it took me forever to get the Thorn, but I had to go through, first I had to run the raid, and beat Crota a few times so I could get the, I believe the Fang of Irute, and I can't remember the name of the Void Pistol, Crota's Hand, or Word of Crota maybe, I don't know. I can't remember what it was, but it was the hand cannon that had primary Void damage on it. And I kind of got that, and then I went through Iron Banner using that primary Void hand cannon and was able to finish the Void kills portion of the Thorn bounty. And then I had to go in and do the Special Strike, and I was able to use the Fang of Irute to help me with that because you could shoot through the Night Shields. I don't know, maybe that was the Pulse Rifle. I can't remember. There was... Yeah, I think that was the Pulse Rifle, which again, I can't remember the name of the weapons from Crota. It's been a long time, but anyway, so doing all of that pretty much solo by myself, when I finally finished that strike and I got the Thorn, and I know everybody complained about Thor because it was super overpowered in PvP. I used it a lot in PvE though, just because I thought it was a cool weapon. The concept behind it was really neat. The whole damage over time thing, the whole shooting like poison rounds at people, whether you're in PvP or playing against the regular enemies, was really cool. And the fact that you had to go through such a long quest chain that was somewhat difficult, especially if you were a solo player, made that weapon have meaning. It made it feel like you went out there and you earned something. I compare that a lot. I talk a lot about MMOs. You've heard me tell the story about the really cool sword I got in World of Warcraft. It took me like 3 months to get. And then people were all like, oh, that's such a cool thing. And it's not really the same in Destiny because a lot of people had the Thorn or have the Invective shotgun or maybe one of the other exotic bounties that they went through and did, but at least those weapons somewhat felt earned and you went out and did something to get them. And that's kind of what I'm trying to say that Destiny 2 really is missing at this point. How many of us remember running the Vault of Glass over and over and over again, and when that Vex Mythoclast finally drops, just how overjoyed you were, just how you felt like all the hard work, all the grinding was suddenly worth it. Or that Yallarhorn drop from one of the chests in the raid, or just in general. You just felt like you grinded for so long and you finally got this awesome weapon. I actually never did get the Vex Mythoclast, unfortunately, but I did get the Fatebringer, and I remember when I got through enough Vault of Glass runs and that Fatebringer finally dropped, it was like, oh, this is cool. I finally have this really awesome weapon that I can go use, and I felt like I worked and did the grind and got through and finally got that weapon. Even some of the more interesting weapons in the original Destiny, the Necrochasm, I really love the concept behind how they allowed you to get the Necrochasm. And even though the Dark Below is a really crappy expansion, I felt that was a really cool way for them to bring the gear into the game. You could earn the Necrochasm, and I believe you could also earn a set of gloves from doing a quest line, which essentially had you going in and doing a bunch of stuff with the Hive. And you had to fight some Hive boss in a patrol, and there were some really interesting quest chains that gave you some unique gear, which was pretty cool. But Necrochasm was really neat. The fact that it was like this random drop off of these Knights of Crota, and you would get this like crappy common weapon, and you had to figure out what you had to do with it. You know, it's like go kill 500 Hive, or go kill a bunch of wizards with it, or you just had to go kill something with it and figure out what it was. And once you built it up enough, you could then upgrade it to a legendary. And then once you got that legendary upgraded, you could get another drop from completing the raid, which then allowed you to upgrade that legendary into exotic. And just that quest path, just putting in those steps, doing that work to get that Necrochasm, that really felt cool. It was like, okay, I've earned this, I went through all the steps, I got this weapon, it means something to me, it's meaningful because of the time I invested, I ended up getting this. So that's just kind of what I'm saying in general. You've got weapons like that, even like the, I think it was called the Boolean Gemini from, I want to say it was the House of Wolves expansion, where once you went through a special quest for Varix, you actually got this exotic scout rifle. So that was pretty cool too. So there's just a lot of different things they did in original Destiny. Loot just felt a lot more unique. It felt a lot more diverse, and it felt meaningful in a lot of senses. you talk to people like I mentioned where they just it took so long and they finally got that Vex Mythoclast or whatever their their weapon was that they had to have that they finally ended up getting. So that was one of the fun things about Destiny, and of course you had the random weapon rolls. So there were how many of us were grinding that new Monarchy package to try to get that God Roll Vanquisher or that God Roll Shadow Price from the Vanguard, or one of the God Roll shotguns or Fellwinter's Lie from Iron Banner. I mean, you just had these different unique weapon rolls and things that you could go for. And weapons just felt better in general, more powerful. You felt like you had a really cool loadout. So that's really one of the main things I wanted to talk about. One of the other things I think they really need to do with Destiny 2, and this is something I've been asking for a long time, if they really want to improve the overall quality of this game, is they need to take a note from several MMOs that have successfully done this, and that is completely separate PvP from PvE. Have two separate sets of gear for both sets of players. Now you can use PvE gear in PvP, but what I want to see them do is have a set of PvP gear specific, whether it's armor and weapons, which is going to have perks that are going to be better suited for PvP play, maybe even give you some bonuses in PvP play if you complete an armor set. And I'm taking a lot of this from one of my favorite MMOs, which was Star Wars: The Old Republic. I didn't really play PvP in the game much, and mainly it was because you had to have a set of PvP gear in addition to your PvE gear that you use for the rest of the game. I didn't really feel like grinding all that out. I was doing a lot of grinding in PvE anyways, but I finally started to play the PvP in Star Wars: The Old Republic. I actually really enjoyed it, and so it was kind of neat then where I had a goal to work towards, where I wanted to get enough PvP currency to outfit my character with a cool set of PvP gear, and they had set bonuses. Once you bought a certain number of armor pieces, you got set bonuses like better reload times and faster cooldowns and all kinds of different things. So it's just they would be able to once again go back to a system where you can have unique builds, and everybody can you get the armor that they want. You can have a separate set of weapons designed to work in the PvP arena, where that way you don't have this major issue with balance, where when you start to balance weapons for PvP, you anger the PvE crowd because you're nerfing their guns, which they really need to be good in PvE. And I think that would really be a cool part of Destiny. You could really take advantage of Lord Shaxx and Lord Saladin. You could have the PvP gear, and even when Lord Saladin comes in for Iron Banner, something I felt that they should have done in Destiny was have an exotic armor piece or an exotic armor set and weapons for Iron Banner specifically. And they need to make some changes to the way Iron Banner works too, I think, where it's kind of crap right now, where you can just basically lose every single match and still earn enough tokens to get gear from Iron Banner. That's not really the way the concept works, and I think that, again, plays more into how they've aimed Destiny 2 really more towards casual players. Not that that's a bad thing. I don't really dislike casual players at all. I know I use the word casual a lot. I myself am I consider myself like a hardcore casual because I don't play much during the week, but on the weekends I have several hours to put into the games. But there's going to come a point with a game like Destiny where something's got to give. Everybody wants all the loot all the time. They want it to be easy to get, but then it doesn't feel meaningful. You've got to have some kind of grind, some kind of challenge to get some of the better loot in the game, whether that's the raid, whether that's the heroic strikes. I think there needs to be something there for everybody, because I know not everybody wants to play the raid. Not everybody can get all their friends together and spend 4 or 5 hours during the week or on the weekend. People have kids, people have jobs, responsibilities. I understand all that, but there needs to be some kind of line crossed here somewhere where they bring back meaning to what you're doing in the games. Right now, I don't feel like your playtime is rewarded at all. You just get a never-ending stream of just crappy, generic, legendary, and exotic stuff that you use most of for fodder, whether it's for infusion or just to farm legendary shards. And it just doesn't feel good right now. The loot in the game just doesn't. It feels like the loot pool is very small and very shallow. There's just not enough unique stuff there. There's hardly any weapons that you get where you're like, whoa, this is a really cool gun and I want to use this. And those weapons are few and far between in Destiny 2, whereas in Destiny you had quite a few weapons, primary, secondary, and heavy, that had a personality to them. They were guns that you wanted to get, wanted to acquire, wanted to use all the time. So that's just mainly the gist of what I was trying to get through. I know I've rambled on for a long time, but I just feel like they've got to do something in Destiny 2 with this coming expansion, just to make the loot more meaningful. make your time that you put in, make your grind that you put in more meaningful. Give you a progression path. Give you something that feels like you're earning things, so that you can look at your items at the end of the day and say, okay, I worked to get this piece of armor, or I worked to get this weapon, and I did this and that to get it, and I feel like it has meaning to me now because I went through so much to get this, and it's actually a really good weapon that has some cool perks on it that allows me to do well in the game. So that's all I'm saying. Really, they just need to figure out how to cross that fine line and how to give the hardcore grind crowd something to work for. I think the fact they're putting in random rolls back into the game is going to help a little bit with that. But at the same time, if it's still going to be the same kind of generic looking and kind of crappy weapons we have right now in the game, it's not going to help much. So Bungie's got their work cut out for them. I think they really need to put in some more effort when it comes to the loot tables and the types of loot you can earn and the ways you can earn it in the game if they want to make the player experience in Destiny 2 more enjoyable. Anyways, guys, I've rambled on long enough. Definitely would love to hear what you guys think about this topic, what your own experience has been with Destiny 2. As I've said personally in this video, I just feel like they did a much better job in the original Destiny with just weapon variety and making weapons and armor feel more meaningful when you got it. So, it's the general point here. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys are having a great day. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you again next time.